Scientists have found traces of many species of human ancestors, at least 20 species so far, and surely many more are yet to be found. About 300,000 years ago, there may have been 10 or more species of humans alive on Earth at once. Today, only one species is left, Homo sapiens. We don't yet know why all the others became extinct and we survived. This collection shows 8 species of humans and human ancestors. These skulls are not real, but are perfect copies of the actual skulls, which are in various museums. You will notice that colors are different on these skulls. All of them would have been a natural bone color, like a modern skull you would see today, but bones often become discolored by minerals in the ground when they're buried for a long time. These reproductions look just like the real fossils. You may also notice that some are lacking a lower jaw. The lower jaw in a human is only held on by muscles and tendons, so after they die, it's very common for the lower jaw to be lost. You can also see where scientists used clay to patch missing parts of the skull where they were broken over the long period of time they were buried. Let's look at some of our ancestors in a little more detail. This is Australopithecus afarensis, one of our most ancient ancestors. You've probably heard of Lucy. She was afarensis. The afarensis did walk on 2 legs, but probably walked rather awkwardly. They had a fairly small brain, and at full size, they were only about 75 pounds. Here's a reconstruction scientists made to show what afarensis may have looked like when they were alive. This is Australopithecus ethiopicus, and these creatures had powerful jaw muscles and huge molar teeth, so they chewed very tough food. You'll also notice a ridge along the top called a sagittal crest. That's where strong muscles were attached to hook onto those powerful jaws. This skull is nicknamed Black Skull because it's stained by manganese in the soil. And here's a picture of what they would have looked like when they were alive. Australopithecus boisei is sometimes called Nutcracker Man because of huge teeth, which it was thought were used to crack nuts and eat seeds, but more recent evidence shows they probably were eating grass most of the time. This was found by Mary Leakey, and when she found this skull, she nicknamed it Dear Boy because she believes it was an adolescent boy when this creature was alive. Here is a skull of Homo erectus. When you see Homo in the name, you know that it actually is a close relative of us. In fact, Homo erectus is probably a direct ancestor of Homo sapiens. This particular skull actually has been lost. It was shipped during World War II from Japan to America for safety, but it disappeared along the way. So we don't have this skull anymore. Here's a reconstruction of a Homo erectus female. Another species closely related to us is Homo heidelbergensis. This individual lived about 300,000 years ago, and the skull has many cavities in the teeth, very bad cavities. In fact, some scientists think this creature may have died from infections in its teeth, or possibly a really bad ear infection. This is what he would have looked like when he was alive. The most recent human to go extinct was Homo neanderthalensis, the Neanderthals. They became extinct about 30,000 years ago. This particular individual had lost most of his teeth by the time he died, And yet he continued to live without those teeth, which means that he had help from others. Neanderthals apparently took care of each other. Somebody was cutting up his food into tiny pieces for him and possibly even chewing it before giving it to him. Neanderthals actually had a slightly larger brain than we do. It doesn't mean they were more intelligent, but they probably did have the ability to use language in a simple way. Here's a reconstruction of a Neanderthal, and as you can see, if you gave them a nice haircut and cleaned them up, they could probably pass as a Homo sapiens. You might run into one of these guys and not even know it was a different species. But unfortunately, they're all extinct today. Still, scientists have discovered that most humans today carry a little bit of Neanderthal DNA, and that means there was some intermixing between their species and ours. This is a Cro-Magnon, which is an early Homo sapiens living in Europe. In fact, these creatures lived at the same time as Neanderthals in Europe, and it was these creatures that sometimes mated with Neanderthals. It's because of them that we carry some Neanderthal DNA today. These people lived a very hard life. Many of them had severe injuries that would probably kill us, and yet those injuries healed and they lived for many years after. That means that they were taking care of each other and had a very close relationship with each other. These may be the earliest humans who deliberately buried their dead, very carefully placing special objects in the graves. That tells us that these creatures probably had some sense of an afterlife. This particular individual suffered from a disease that caused tumors on his face, which is the reason for the dent in his forehead and the severe pitting all over the face. And here's a reconstruction of what this man would have looked like, living a very difficult life about 30,000 years ago in Northern Europe. And here is a modern human Homo sapiens. Um, so we can use this skull to compare with our ancestors and we can investigate some of the changes that have taken place.